Getting back to our top story tonight, John Tory confirming he will not run for mayor in the upcoming municipal election. Joining us in studio is John Tory himself. Welcome and thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Why decide now? Why at this point?
Well, if you're going to run, you've got to get on with it because there's a campaign to be run and ideas to be exchanged and debates to be held. But if you're not going to, in my case, I had sort of had a keen interest in it because I really felt the city was at one of those points in time where, I could offer something in terms of my skills and experience, such as they are. But my family, in the end, felt, and I think with some justification, that the price to be paid for that in terms of, reviving a discussion that's already begun before I even made a decision about my personal life and what led to my resignation was going to be painful and difficult for them, and I just didn't want to put them through that. People close to me, my family, I didn't want to do it.
How much have the attack ads from Progress Toronto influenced this decision beforehand?
Well, it's interesting because I can put up with that. I mean, I'm a big boy. I've been in many campaigns. I've run campaigns. I've been a candidate quite a few times. And so I could have put up with it, but the notion that it would hurt other people close to me, was just not something. They were hurt before, and I take responsibility for that. I took full responsibility by resigning. But when that all happened, they were hurt by that, obviously, and I just didn't want to see them hurt again. And it looked like that kind of campaigning, even before I was in the campaign, was going to lead to more hurt, and I just felt that was not, notwithstanding all the concerns I have about the city, that was not something that I wanted to put them through.
How much of it, though, was, as you've described, a poor decision at the time, and how much of it was what was found to be perhaps an ethical breach on your part?
Well, I look at a 100-page report written by the Integrity Commissioner that said that I didn't report it to HR, and I think a lot of people across the city, I held myself to account, I resigned, so I'm not excusing that, but I think a lot of people have had relationships at the office that they didn't report, and that's a relationship that still exists today. So it wasn't as if it was something where there was that other kind of issue with it. And then secondly, it said I voted on something to do with a Rogers connection, and I accepted responsibility for that. But at the end of the day, I don't think that was going to be the issue itself in the election. They were going to attack me for the fact that I had behaved in a certain way that I took account for. And I think when I took account 3 years ago, and I've spent my time since then working in all corners of the city as a volunteer for all kinds of different organizations, that probably shouldn't be the real issue. The real issue should be the safety in the city. It should be housing. It should be taxes. It should be financial management of the city. It should be the economy. And so those are the things I wanted to run on, but I was concerned that I wouldn't have the chance, and more so than that, even if I did, that the focus on the other issue would hurt people close to me.
You talk about, you have to take some time to run for mayor.
Yeah.
You have delayed this decision to this point. Have you frozen other candidates out simply by just waiting till now to decide?
No, I was actually heading in the direction of running, and then I had to sit down and sort of said, okay, I'm going to do this. And the repercussions for people close to me were such that I just couldn't carry forward. But I will say, when I ran for mayor the first time in 2003, a long time ago, I lost. But I got into the race, I think, at the end of February. And I think at times when I won, I got in February. So to me, it's okay, it's the 1st of March. But there's lots of time if somebody wants to run, if they take that decision to get in and run. And I've said I want to watch the field. I'm not going to endorse anybody for now. I have before, but I'm not going to for now. And I'll watch and see how the field unfolds, and we'll all go from there, including mostly the voters, so more importantly.
Brad Bradford is the only one who said at this point, officially, I'm in and I'm going to run. How much of an impact was that, considering that, if you were to slice up the pie of could we call it the anti-Chow vote, or those who would not vote for Mayor Chow if she runs again, if that vote split would happen, that would perhaps deny you an ability to win. Yeah,
that wasn't a consideration. I mean, winning and losing, the political professionals come to you when you're a candidate. I've had this experience. You haven't yet, maybe one day. And they say you're going to win. And in my case, the polling indicated I had a very strong chance of winning. But the winning and losing isn't, what it's all about. I mean, yes, you'd rather win than lose, and I've done both. But it's about, how you feel about the decision for yourself as a personal decision, at least in this case. And so Mr. Bradford getting in early, that was something he felt he had to do. And it really had no impact on my decision. My decision was a personal one because I was in it because I felt I could be the mayor that Toronto needs now to strengthen the economy and get Toronto back firing on all cylinders. And that I decided I wouldn't do it for the reasons I've indicated.
Will you attack or at least criticize Mayor Chow, even if you don't endorse someone else?
Well, I've tried. It's interesting. I've had 3 years out of office where I was a commentator all over the city, and in broadcast commentator, and I have tried to avoid doing that. I was critical sometimes. Like, I don't think that draining the reserves is a good way to keep taxes down. I managed to keep taxes down to the rate of inflation for 9 years without draining the reserves, and I've talked about things like that, but I'm not personally critical of her. It's a tough job. I've done it for 8 years plus, and but I will comment on the election. I'm a commentator, and so I've said I will, and I intend to, and I might endorse somebody, which I've done at least once before. So we'll see how it unfolds. I'm not trying to sort of, stick my nose in where it doesn't belong, but I also have a lot of experience at this and a lot of knowledge of the political scene in Toronto and campaigning and being mayor, and so I'll share some of those thoughts, I'm sure.
Much of the discussion from Mayor Chow over the last while has been things like snow removal contracts, the FIFA contract, a number of issues. What she says is the starving of the kitty from Toronto. Do you accept those criticisms?
No, I actually don't. I mean, I think that if she was wanting to be fair, to my record, as I've tried to be fair to her since she's had this very difficult job, as I acknowledge, I kept taxes low for 9 budgets, and I think I did it at the same time making huge additional investments in the TTC, in housing, and in things like that. You don't have to run the city it's not an either-or picture, and the snow removal contracts, because snow removal itself, like taking the snow off the street, wasn't in the contract. It's never been in the contract. So the fact they weren't in the ones that I signed, it's just politics, and it's politicking, and I would hope maybe she'll be, now that I'm not running, more fair-minded about my record, because you know what? Even a broken clock is right twice a day, and I did some good things in office. I saw the city through the pandemic, and I'm proud of that. And I think people appreciated that I communicated with them and tried to comfort them and tried to deal with things in a way that was appropriate. So look, it doesn't matter. I'm a big boy, and I served my 8 years, and I did the best I could, and now I'll move on to continue to be a volunteer, very active in the community, trying to make life better for people here, because I love the city.
John Tory, appreciate you being here.
Thanks, Alan. All the best.
Stay with us. We're back in a moment.